Our first Unseen Hero segment of 2015. My next guest doesn't know how much time he has left to live, but he's been making the most of every minute to deepen his connection to the people he loves. Garth Callaghan is now in his fourth bout with cancer, and he's been writing little notes to his daughter on napkins since she was in kindergarten. Now, as he faces his mortality, this connection to his daughter has become more urgent, and he's found a new mission. Garth joined me in studio to talk about his new book, Napkin Notes, Creating a Daily Connection with Those You Love, and how we should all take advantage of reaching those we love while we can. Here's our unseen hero, Garth Callaghan. Garth, I want to start with this amazing journey you went on that culminated in the book, in Napkin Notes, which I just love the title, and I love the message here. Walk me back to the moment when these little napkin notes that you wrote to your daughter starting at 5 and inserted in her lunchbox. When did that take on new meaning for you?
Well, the first time it took on new meaning was when she was in about 3rd grade, and I had finished making her lunch, and I hadn't yet put a note into her lunchbox. And I wasn't slacking off, I just hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
And she scooped up her lunch bag, and she noticed that there was no note. And she stepped over to me and looked up at me and held out her bag and simply asked, "Napkin note?" So that's when I knew that it really mattered to her, that she was paying attention to these handful of words that I was putting on.
And what were on the notes? Tell people what were on the notes.
Back then they were very simple. I love you, have a great day, good luck on your science test today, have a fun time in gym. They were very simple. They don't have to be profound. As she grew older, I tried to come up with things that would help motivate her or inspire her, notes that were stronger. And sometimes I looked to others for suggestions. So I would borrow a quote, and I could write something from Dr. Seuss, like, "Why fit in when you were born to stand out?"
Stand out, yeah.
And then the notes took on real meaning, real deep meaning, after my first cancer diagnosis.
In 2011?
Correct.
And what happened at that point?
Well, so I was diagnosed with cancer. It was seemingly simple. Go in, have surgery, cut out the tumor, cut out my kidney.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine. And that happened right before Christmas. As we exited Christmas vacation, life seemed to go back to normal. I started making lunches again. Emma went back to school. I went back to work. And we were trying to be normal. But in the back of my head, I kept worrying about cancer. And I felt that Emma was as well. And about 2 months after she went back to school that year, I saw that she had been keeping the notes. She had been ripping off the things I had been writing to her and cataloging them in a notebook.
Wow. And what have these come to represent? Not only for her, but for you.
So I'm just as inspired by these notes. The act of me taking 30 or 45 seconds in the morning, 2 minutes on a tougher morning, and really pouring my heart into these notes. I want Emma to understand how much I love her. I want her to understand what tenacity is, because I'm still fighting. I want her to understand, I never want her to question what our values are or what we believe in. And so at any time she can go to any of the notes that I've written and understand what our family's about.
You are now in the middle of your 3rd diagnosis. You're battling this thing for the 3rd time. That clarifies the mind.
It does. I wake up every morning. The first thing I do is I say, "Wow, thank you, God. I'm awake.
I have another day.
One more day."
Yeah.
And then I really think to myself, what is the most important thing that I need to do today? And I'm going to do that thing no matter what, no matter how badly I feel from the treatment or what else gets in my way, but that's the thing that I'm going to do today.
And this has become a mission for you.
This
is not just, it's cute that I write a note to my daughter. You want others to recognize they have a need and should have a desire to connect with those they love.
Absolutely. And it goes well beyond a parent-child relationship, I think. It could even extend to the workforce. Imagine if you came into work one day and your manager had a handwritten note that was left at your desk. Great job on that presentation yesterday. What type of meaning does that hold as opposed to a thank you email?
Mm-hmm.
So my wife, about a year ago actually, I was starting a new job, and my wife had gone out and started my car for me so that the ice would come off of the windshield. I got into my car, and there was a note. Have a great first day. I love you. That note is still in my car, and I see it every single day.
It leaves an impression.
Absolutely.
It's a piece of you when you leave your
You're right.
hand.
It's tangible. It's not a text message. It's not an email. And I'm a geek. I love those things.
Yeah.
But having that note is personal.
You talk in the book about leaving the faith. You're a Catholic, raised a Catholic. You leave the faith, and then you find your way back after the cancer diagnosis?
Yes. In the middle of.
And you go and talk to Father Dan.
Correct.
In the parish.
Correct.
And you went to him because you were legitimately pretty angry.
I was. I was very angry and bitter with God. And not for myself. I was angry and bitter because I was looking at a future that my daughter did not have her dad. And that broke my heart. So I sat down with Father Dan, who didn't really know me. I knew him much more than he knew me. And we were sitting in his parish office after hours. We were just talking. We were talking about cancer and treatment and God and
because
religion.
he had cancer as well. He had
Correct.
prostate cancer, yeah.
And we were just having a conversation, and the conversation turned all of a sudden, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you angry with God?" And I thought, oh great, how can I answer this?
Yeah.
I can sit here and lie to my parish priest and say, oh no, everything's great.
Yeah.
Or I can admit that I'm angry with God, and in my mind I was committing blasphemy sitting in the parish office.
Yeah.
And I started to cry. And he knew the answer. He knew the answer before he even asked the question. And he said, that's okay. He's got broad shoulders. He can handle that. And I thought, oh, this is not something that I expected. And I didn't really anticipate the conversation turning that way.
How has it deepened your faith?
There are a lot of steps that I've taken since that conversation. And frankly, the Knights of Columbus in my parish, they asked me to join the Knights. They had no idea how troubled I was at the time. And here was this group of men that their sole purpose was to help others in the community. And so between the conversation with Father Dan and becoming active in the Knights of Columbus, I recognized that my lousy cancer is the least of my problems. That is nothing for me to focus on. If I can focus on helping others, whether it's helping parents write notes to their kids or helping other cancer patients navigate the waters of their medical treatment, I can focus on them and focus a lot less on me.
There's a fantastic line at the end of this chapter where you write about Father Dan, and you say, the dark times we experience in life are not because God has left, but because we've turned away. And the joy he experiences when we turn back is unimaginable.
I paraphrase something that I learned from one of the parables in the Bible. And when the son returns to the father, the father's been standing there waiting for him to come back after he spent the inheritance and he's wasted all of that time and money and he's sinned. But the dad has always been standing there waiting for him. And that's how God is with us.
Tell me what happened last year when you received the 4th cancer diagnosis. You make a decision.
Correct. So let's be really honest. I freaked out.
I'll imagine.
Right. So my doctors.
Or I can't imagine.
My doctors have, and it's not that it's this diagnosis. It's this type of diagnosis, and my doctors have a very serious conversation with me. And whether they start talking about statistics in 5-year lifespans or median lifespans or however they slice and dice the numbers, it doesn't look good. And so I grabbed some calendars and counted up how many school days there were going to be between then and my daughter's high school graduation. And it was 826, if I counted correctly. I think I did. And so I sat down with a pen and a lot of napkins, and I just started writing. And I did it at night in the dark of the house because I didn't want my family to know that I was doing this in case I died.
And you see this as a long-term gift to her?
I do. I grew up in a family full of undertakers. My dad was a mortician, my mom's dad,
Wow.
an uncle, a cousin. And so we've had very frank discussions of death and dying, but never about me. Right?
Yeah. No, it's always somebody else.
It's always somebody else.
Always
exactly.
somebody else. And this is the thing the book draws out. It reminds us, you know, those saint pictures, they always had the skull and bones in the corner. Well, that was to remind you, this is the end for all of us.
We are all mortal.
Right.
And so I recognize that at some point in time I'm going to die. Hopefully not today, hopefully not this year, but at some point in the future. And I hope that Emma can recognize the gift that I have left her in these notes. Ideally, my goal is to live long enough to hand them over to her personally on her high school graduation day.
Well, we pray for that.
Amen.
Now, you also say the book is not about cancer and dying.
Correct.
It's about making connections.
It is.
What are people at home missing? What are we not doing that we should be doing?
We're not holding each other's hands. We are not looking around our community. My community has lifted me up and has carried my family for over a year. And I'll share some quick examples. Yeah. Cancer is a very expensive disease to fight. Yeah. And we have financially struggled for the past 12 months or so. We would come home and find gift cards to grocery stores in our mailbox. We came home last December after being out for an afternoon, and there were presents all over our front porch. And there were personalized presents. There were presents for our dog. There was a back scratcher, and I read the symbolism into that. Garth, we're scratching your back. We have continued to receive because people are paying attention. My next door neighbor, Mike, mows my lawn from time to time because I don't have the energy or stamina to do that. So on Saturday mornings, I have to be humbled and I watch my wife mow the lawn. Now, look, I don't love to mow the lawn, but
Yeah.
I don't want to be in that position. So Mike, from time to time, does that. So really, this book is about paying attention to those who might need your help. Build a connection. Just do something simple for them. It doesn't have to be big. We don't have to cure cancer. We don't have to solve world hunger. What we have to do is help one person in need. And my favorite quote today, it's something I wrote on Emma's napkin a few months ago, and I hold this dear to me, is a quote by Mother Teresa. If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one.
True, true. You have continued to work.
Yes.
Even though there is the doctors say, there's a finite amount of time. Why have you decided to continue working?
Well, part of it is I think I'm serving my family. So by working, we are able to remain normal. I took a class a while ago on how to best serve your family financially, and one of the things that they shared there is if your family is in debt or you're kind of struggling, it's okay for the dad to go deliver pizzas a couple of nights a week. That there's honor in that, and that's serving your family. So by me continuing to work, I'm serving my family as best as I can. Yes, I'm mortal, but I could live 40 more years. So if I were to give up my career now and suddenly 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we have no revenue, no income, and we've spent all of our savings, that's a challenge.
That could be a problem. Right. That could be a problem.
Live as if I'm not going to die.
What would be your advice to others who might want to leave their own napkin notes?
Just start today. There is no time like the present to start something. Well done is better than well said. It doesn't. Writing a note is not. I'm not looking to become the next Hemingway. It's a pen and a piece of paper and 3 words. I love you. That's an easy way to start.
There's going to be a movie?
Rumor has it that New Line Cinema, and I joke, New Line Cinema is in the process of purchasing the movie, or purchasing the book, and we're very excited about the fact that our story will be shared, and hopefully we can inspire some more parents to do the same thing. What
do you want your legacy to be, Garth?
I only need one personal legacy. And the purpose of the book, the reason why I have the life lessons in there are for Emma. And whether it's 5 years from now or 50 years from now, I don't want Emma to ever question who I was or what I stood for. And she has said already at 15 that she's committed to writing notes to her children. I couldn't imagine a better legacy.
Yeah, I love the note you left her once. I love to watch you play. Beautiful.
So, you know, somebody, I won't take credit for that, by the way. Somebody else wrote that in a blog post, and I read it, but I took it to heart. Whenever I go to any of her sports games, I always say that to her every time. It takes the pressure off.
It's a great line.
I'm not looking for you to win. It'd be great if you did, but I love to watch you play.
Napkin Notes, creating a daily connection with those you love, is available at bookstores everywhere. He's an inspiration. Before we go, the world over is seeking a new producer, maybe you. Someone with some broadcast TV experience, a detailed-oriented person who wants to have a real influence and help us cover the world as only we can. If you're interested in this DC-based position, send an email to EWTN Human Resources at humanresources@EWTN.com. Perhaps you can be part of our growing team.